Brandon, you made it. Good to see you, man.
Hey, Brandon. So as people start filling into it from the waiting room, I just want to thank everybody for coming. We will start in just a few minutes. We actually have about 213 people registered for this session right now. We only have 30 here. So we've got quite a few more to come. So just give us a few minutes and we'll start in just a few. Yeah, we're just waiting for a few more people to show up. We will get started in a couple minutes. Good to see some smiling faces and lots of names that we've had on in the past. So I'm interested. I see Edwin said, hi everyone from Georgia. For those of you that are here, who's the furthest away from me? I'm in the Bay Area. So who's the furthest away from the Bay Area? Cindy's in Florida. Got another Florida.
South
Yeah,
Carolina.
Terry, you're not too far away from me. Lots of Texas and Florida. I just spent a month in Texas and went through my first ever hurricane warning. Not Flagstaff. So we got Florida or South Carolina.
I saw somebody with the Statue of Liberty on their frame here.
Yep, Bay Area. Yeah, I'm in North Bay, just north of San Francisco. Anybody from Canada? Got any Canadians with us today? I know last time we had someone from Nova Scotia, so Nova Scotia would probably be the furthest away from me. Unless, of course, we got someone way up in Nunavut or somewhere. Ontario, excellent. I see April, she's not too far away from me. All right. I don't want to wait too long because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We have 73 participants right now, and as people show up, they can join us. For those of you that are new to our educational series, welcome. This is number 3 out of number 5. And just a few housekeeping items. we're doing these sessions as meetings and not webinars, specifically to allow people to interact. So feel free to ask questions. I do ask, though, that if you're not speaking, you keep your system on, you keep your speakers or your headphones, microphone on mute, so we don't get a lot of feedback. And I see Cindy playing with hats. That's pretty cool. Oh, now 3D glasses. But feel free as we go through to type questions into chat. If the question's too long, just type, hey, I have a question, and then someone will call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Again, we want these to be interactive. We have people from the evaluation committee to answer any questions for you today. So with that, the next thing I want to do is make sure that we thank our sponsors. Our sponsors have made these sessions free with their sponsorship to allow us to provide all these educational sessions for free. So a big thank you to Negometrics and also to our presenting sponsor, NPP Gov. So again, thank you to both of them for allowing us to provide these educational sessions to you. Before we jump into Criterion 7 today, I just want to I've been receiving a couple questions on our new website. If you haven't seen our new website, we launched last week, and I'm going to show it to you real quick. Does that everybody view the new website? Look good, Philip? Okay, excellent. So we launched this website last week, and it took a lot of work to get it pulled together, but we hope that people are going to find it easy to use and house all the new information that we want to get out to our membership. But the question that we have been getting is, where do we find the AEP model submittals? There used to be a link to the model submittals under the AEP award tab. And as you can see, they're not there anymore. What we've done is, because the model submittals are available to NPI members, we put them under the NPI, the members only tab. So if you want to access the model submittals, again, once you log in, you hover over the members only tab and you can click on the AEP model submittals. If you are not an NPI member, you can get membership to NPI for $135 per year. And with membership, not only do you get access to the AEP model submittals, job opportunities, and other value adds from our membership, you also get $200 off your AEP application. So for a membership of $135, you receive a $200 discount. Obviously, it makes it worthwhile to become an NPI member. With that, I am going to turn the presentation today over to Philip Ellison, who is a longtime evaluator of the program and has spent a lot of time on question 7. And the reason we're presenting on question 7 today is people that have done the AEP award in the past know that there are 8 subsections. It's all about e-procurement, and it's worth 20% of the entire points possible on the AEP application. So it's critical that your organization, if not currently, gets involved with e-procurement. And with that, Philip, please go ahead and take over the presentation. Again, if you have any questions, let us know in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Welcome, everybody. I also want to show some appreciation to Brandon Harper, my colleague in evaluating many of the Criterion 7. So he's here to assist with picking up the pieces after I kind of blow through this thing and leave everybody with their heads spinning. I'm going to be showing some model submittals, and I'll be going through those. And let me share my screen real quick. I'll be going through those and kind of talking through them. So be aware, there's 75 slides here, but some of them are going to go rather quickly. But I'm going to be kind of going through the criteria of Criterion 7, which is, as Brian said, there's criteria A through H. And I'll be going through each one of those. And if there's any specific questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. And Brandon and Brian will be following along and fielding those. And we'll see if we can't get through this rather quickly. So 7A. So I've gone through again. I've chosen different model submittals from different agencies for each one of the criteria, and we'll go through each one of those. So the first one is 7A. the internet homepage with a link to procurement activities, and selected Louisville. Okay, somebody's writing on our screen. Let's not do that. I chose Louisville. And as we go down in the document, you'll see that they have shown their district webpage. Okay, we got to figure out how to erase the annotations. Can we, here we go. All right, so they've brought up their webpage. So things they need to show is how the public can get to the procurement page off the agency's homepage. Also link to the page which directs suppliers to information on how to do business with the agency. And then finally, providing procurement staff contact information. And so here they have on their website the about the entity, then how to get to purchasing, and within the purchasing webpage, how to do business. And then they have several screenshots of here as they scroll down on how to do business with them. And then the final screenshot shows contact information. And we are aware that because of different cyber attacks and other types of cyber infiltrations, that many entities don't like putting their staff contact names and email and phone numbers. So we have been allowing some type of contact information, whether it be a general email address for the department or a general phone number for the department to contact. And so that's 7A. Here we go to 7B, Plano provided a model submittal. And so for online electronic vendor registration, you need to provide a narrative explaining how a vendor would register to do business with your agency, and a link to the direct link to the website to the vendor registry site if you use a third party. And then current screenshots of registration process that demonstrates automation and the use of commodity codes. And we want to make sure that you're using actual screenshots of your website and not something from like the vendor's user guide or something like that that doesn't actually reflect how your entity registration would happen. So here they have their website doing business with Plano. And then within that, there's the purchasing and bid information. So you can see they're clearly showing by circling and showing arrows how to navigate through this. You can imagine over 200 submittals last year. Brandon and I get a little weary when we're about 150 into it. We're still trying to find this information from each entity. So the better and easier you can make it for us, the quicker we can give you your points and ensure that you get the points that you deserve. And here again, it goes to suppliers, and then there's a vendor registration. So it points us right to that. It then kicks us to their third party e-sourcing tool, which in this case are using, looks like IonWave. And then it has supplier registration. And then again, through their screenshots, they're walking us through the supplier registration process in IonWave. There's a City of Plano terms and conditions that they scroll down and accept. And then they can put in their vendor information and vendor ID and tax ID and all of that. And then they get a verification via email. And once they get the email, they click on to complete their registration. They go through and continue putting in their registration information. And then it gets to their commodity codes. In this case, they're using commodity names, not codes, but I'm sure it's probably goes back to something, some number matrix. But they go in and choose their commodities. They can drill down and get more specific into their commodities. And then it asks them to go ahead and submit their registration, and they get their registration added, and they can go in and access any solicitations on that. So that kind of walks us through that process, which is very, very clean and specific in terms of what they're wanting the evaluator to look at, which is what we always appreciate. Okay, here we go to 7C. So that's posting and downloading of solicitations. It's a narrative explaining how a vendor would find and download a solicitation from your agency, screenshot or a link to your bid posting, and it needs to be issued after a certain date. And for this year, it'll be after January 1st, 2020. And then a cover page of the download solicitation showing that actually it's bringing you to the solicitation. And so with South Lake, City of South Lake, they have a couple of different ways in how to access their bid. So here it's going through doing business with the entity, and then you can go right into city bid information, and it brings you right to this site, this page that allows you to go in and look at bids. The other way is going through their government and then finance, and then if through finance to their purchasing, and then getting bid information, and it ends up right back where you are later. So, so they're showing a couple of different ways of getting to it. And then once you are in there, they're actually bringing up some past bid opportunities so that you can go in and drill down and show the solicitation information. So in this particular case, they're drilling down and showing the solicitation page. And so here's the cover page that's required. There's also a way of going into their solicitation tool, which is Bonfire in this case. So they're going through, they're selecting Bonfire here, and then it brings up the actual third-party program. And here they're looking at,
how's your day going?
In this particular case, they're going in and they're identifying.
Oh my goodness, okay.
Bid. So
what headline is that? It's not on Opportunity Zone.
So I'd like to reiterate, go ahead and mute
So
your device.
Did it appear in the paper
Or
somewhere?
maybe Greg or Brian, you can do that for us. Mute them up.
Oh, okay. This is the Tampa Bay Business Journal.
All right.
What are they saying?
I don't know if,
Hey, Greg, your mic's not muted.
A little bit to get there.
Okay.
But the most jarring thing is the headline says, you know, City of Tampa.
Do we know who this is speaking? So here we are. Sorry about that. So here we are with the actual solicitation and showing one of the pages of the solicitation as they drill down. Here's the download screen to the solicitation. Sorry, here we are with the solicitation. So that's the other way that they've shown being able to go down and look at the actual proposal. Now it brings us to criteria 7D, the electronic interactive solicitation system. And this, you're going to provide a narrative explaining how your agency meets the requirements of an electronic notification to selected vendors, vendor electronic response, and the automatic tabulation of offers received. You'll also need to provide an automatic broadcast list and a screenshot or a download showing the vendors who responded to the solicitation, and then again, the bid tabulation. And so what Sarasota County provided was really nice. They reiterated the criteria up at the top, which isn't necessary, but they did, in doing that, they numbered each one of the submittal requirements. So now as an evaluator, I can know that, okay, item 1 is going to be their narrative, item 2 is going to be their broadcast list, and it kind of walks me right through it. So they provide their narrative and each one of the items that they're going to be supplying. Here's where they show their notifications, and they select the commodity codes, and then based on that, it provides a list. This is their supplier invitation list. And you'll note here that it's really hard to see. If you think about taking a screenshot and perhaps even a window within a screenshot and then putting it on a document, think about reducing that image over and over. And so it gets to the point where it's actually hard to read. And so, you know, then we have to go in and zooming out, zooming in, zooming out, zooming in to try to get to see what you're trying to show. And so just keep that in mind as you're submitting your documents. And so here, again, the supplier notifications, again, some more of the notifications. And then here is an extract of the vendors that submitted. And so it's kind of drilling down, showing what vendors submitted a bid. And then here in item 4 is the tabulation. And so it goes into different iterations of the tabulation. There's an item, and then we get to bid price in the category. And then here it shows the actual tabulation of each one of the submittals that were provided. And so we kind of struggled with the term tabulation because different entities interpret tabulation as a different thing. And so that's why we kind of defined it as I'm sorry, third party. I had it right here. So it's a grouping, a tabulation, a grouping of all the submittals into their different into the different pricing, and not a listing of an individual vendor's pricing for items. It's a tabulation of all. It's a combination, a comparison, if you will, of all the different vendors' proposals for that particular solution. Okay, and so that's D. And so it brings us to item E. And so this is Snohomish County. I like that picture. That's a nice little bucolic lighthouse with a lake there. So anyway, 7E, and that's posting of both the solicitation tabulations and the award documentation on the website. And so this is to allow the public to be able to see your tabulations and award. So you'll provide a narrative, you'll provide a tabulation or score summary, and providing current screenshots or a link to a current tabulation or summary posted on your website, and then award documentation, screenshots of the link to the website, and then also the notice of intent to award. The award of your award documentation, as opposed to an intent to award, which is not what we're looking for. We're actually looking for the award documentation. And so in this particular case, Snohomish has doing business, and then as you drill down, it has the purchasing division identified, and then within that, they actually had two different situations happen. They had an antiquated system, not antiquated, an older system that they used, and then a newer system that they use. And so they were just identifying that if you need things from older than 2017, you'll find them down here. But if you want current tabulations, you'll be able to find them in the new document. So it just kind of provides some explanation. And then as you drill down into their current tool, it lists all their bids that they've had. And you'll see here that they've identified them as awarded bids. And so it provided those on the website. And then they drilled down on one of the bids. It brought up the information and description of the bid. You'll see again that the status is awarded. So we know that this is an awarded solicitation. And then again, drilling down, selecting bid tabulation. And the last item here is the actual tabulation of the solicitation, showing the award to a particular vendor. And so that's what we're looking for in that particular criteria. So that brings us to F. And so in F, we have Tacoma Public Schools that provided this model submittal. 7F is an internal procurement automation, which is your online requisitioning system, your purchase order system, if you will. And they go through the narrative, and then they demonstrate the electronic requisition process. And they also demonstrate the electronic approval process for a requisitioning process. And so they kind of walk us through the steps. They're using a system called Lawson. And so they provide some screenshots in that. It's a self-service requisitioning process. So your requester is actually filling these in. And so you go through and start filling in the requisitions, and then you get to an approval process. So here's our approval process that's been identified. It sends an email to the approver requesting that they access the requisition to review. And then finally, it gives us information on how to do an inquiry into the system by going to a specific screen and then putting in the requisition number and then getting the necessary information, or I'm sorry, getting access to the requisition at that point. And so that is item E. And then, I'm sorry, here they're showing the purchase order that's resulting from the requisition. All right, now we get to 7G, electronic data interchange. This is being provided by the Eastern Municipal Water District. And what we're looking for here is a description of your electronic data interchange options, your system, showing some screenshots demonstrating an electronic transmittal of an actual order, right? So we go through and they give us a narrative about what they're going to be providing us. And here is an approval document where they are selecting the transmission method. And so EDI is one of the methods, but EDI is the actual electronic data flow from a ordering system to a vendor. But we've identified and defined EDI in what we're looking for as the electronic transmission of an actual order. So that could be either a fax or an email in this particular case, if it goes via your ordering system to their fax machine. And they're using Oracle as their system. They're identifying an email for it to go through and putting in the email address here. So it says here that they can either do it by putting it in at the point of order, or they can have it loaded into the system already under the vendor information. And then this is an email going to the vendor. This is a sample, but it would go to the vendor and it would provide them the purchase order. And that was generated through the purchase order system and sent directly from their system, Oracle in this case, to the vendor. And then here's a copy of the purchase order. Nice and clean. Again, circles and arrows showing what they're looking for. And the last item is 7H, the utilization. I'm sorry, the 7H is internal auction systems to dispose of surplus materials. And so we're looking for a narrative. We're looking for current screenshots of our auction site or your agency's auction site. And then if you're using a third party, you would show a direct link from your entity's website to the auction site. And the third party auction site has to have your specific entity's web page or auction page identified. And it must be the auctions have to be comprehensive. It can't be just one item or a specific list of items. It has to be all types of items that your entity would generate as surplus. And then finally, a report of showing sold items by the auction provider, and it would need to be multiple auction dates. And so what we're looking for is an overall surplus auctioning process, not just a select process or a select auction for a thing. We need to know that your entity utilizes it across the board. And so in this particular case, we have San Jacinto San Jacinto Community College District. And they provide, again, they retyped the criteria, which isn't necessary. But in that, they provided the narrative. It shows their website, and it shows that they do online surplus property auctions. And it states that you would just simply click on this link, and it would bring you to the third-party auctioning site. In this case, it's Lone Star Online Auctions. And here you see that it's specifically designated for San Jacinto College. So they've got a designated page on this third-party link to their items. And I can see here they've got a fireboat listed first. They've got other things. They've got a file cabinet. So from fireboats to file cabinets, I'd say it pretty much covers a wide range of items. But as we continue to go down, we'll see that you're able to look at the individual item and place a bid on this LSO auction site. And then here we have a list of items and auctions that were done. This happened to be in January 25th, and this is a summary of all the items that sold during that auction. The next is February 25th. And so they're showing, here's the reports of all the different auctions they've had in April and May, and then in June, and all the way through November. So that shows a comprehensive auction process of all their surplus property. So that's A through H in a nutshell, and I'm hoarse and dizzy even looking at that, so I can't imagine you guys. Any questions that came up, Brandon, that we need to address, or Brian?
Thanks, Philip. That was a quick 75 pages and lots of information. We appreciate it. I believe that Brandon and I have answered all the questions that are currently in the chat.
Wow.
Here comes another one. It says, do you need to show all auctions, or is one example sufficient? And I'll take that first, Philip. I think the answer is you need to show enough auctions to demonstrate that you use it for multiple things. So Philip's example of fireboats to file cabinets is fantastic. It's like Amazon from A to Z, but you don't have to show everything. You can show a sample of your auctions. We just want to see that you're not specifically only auctioning cars,
right?
Or
so you need
doing office supplies. It should be comprehensive. Is that right, Philip?
Right, you need to show different items, but you also need to show multiple auctions. So you've got to be able to show both those things. If you had 2 or 3 auction reports out there, then that would be fine. You don't have to show one for every auction you did throughout the year.
Excellent, thank you. So if we have any more questions, we can still take those. We still have a few minutes. I do want to thank Philip and Brandon for the great information today.
Dang, I did that in like exactly 30 minutes. That's impressive.
Yeah, that was pretty darn good. I do want to, quickly point out a couple of things. Again, I've said these before, but we do get questions quite a bit. And I'm going to share my screen here just to make sure that if I can find.
Well, I'm
my
sorry.
screen that I want to share.
Oh yeah, no,
There we go.
I thought I was still sharing.
Here's the model submittals on our new website, and I would like to say first off that these aren't the only model submittals. We do have quite a few more that aren't posted, and the reason for that is it takes a heck of a lot of time for us to download and post these all to the website. So we try and do 4 or 5 per criteria. There could be more. Some there's only a few. But some there's definitely more, and I know in 7 there's a lot. We've got a lot of people that do a great job on 7. But one thing that you will see, you saw from the presentation that Philip did, is that the model submittals are really well annotated, and it makes it easy for the committee to go through and step through the requirements. One that has been called out as a model submittal every year, and not only on a few criteria, but on many criteria, is Sarasota County. And the reason for that is they have numbered each thing on their application that they need to submit. So if there's 5 items that they're supposed to submit, they number those, and they tell us exactly where in the document that we're going to find that based on those little numbers that Philip showed. So that entire document, if anybody's on from Sarasota County, congratulations, you do a great job every year. The other thing that I wanted to remind people of is that the member login information is different than your login information for the AEP award. There's 2 different databases. You do not have to be an NPI member to submit an AEP application. Just as a reminder, you save money. You save $200 when you become an NPI member. But a lot of times I get questions saying, hey, I can't log into the AEP website. And what we find out is they're trying to use their member login. So make sure that you know which login you're using. They can be the same if you've made them the same, obviously, but they could also be different. Another thing that I want to point out is anybody from your organization that has the same email URL as you will be able to access your application. For example, mine is at goldengate.org. So anybody that has an at goldengate.org email, when they log in, they can access Golden Gate's AEP award information. So what that allows is for people to work on different parts of the application, or able to see things from last year, even though someone else has submitted. So just keep that in mind. Anybody with the same URL is going to be able to access your AEP application. If you do share, I would recommend that you have someone review it at the end just to make sure that all the pieces are there. So with that, we're going to take one quick last look to the questions. Edwin has asked, does my district name need to show on the auction site? That's a good question. Philip, you want to take that one? And Philip, you might not be able to see the question because
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't see the question. What is it again?
It was a direct question to me. It just says, does my district name need to show on the auction site?
Yes. Yeah, it needs to be customized to your entity. So whatever your third-party auction company is, you need to have a designated web page on that auction site for your entity.
Excellent, thank you. I know, for example, our entity uses public surplus, and every agency that's on public surplus has their own logo in the top. So it's similar, but you also can get to see just the auctions for my agency, which is really what we're looking at. Is people want to buy specifically from your agency, can they do that? Let's see. And I think that's all the questions that I have seen. Philip, Brandon, do you have any last words for the group?
No, I think I covered enough.
Yeah, I'd
Excellent.
just say, don't be afraid to reach out to us if you have questions too. So we're happy to help.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brandon. All of our AEP evaluators are here to help. We're all volunteers. We all love and support the program. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Again, I want to thank our sponsor, Egometrics, and our presenting sponsor, NPP Gov, for allowing us to put on these sessions. If you haven't registered, we still have 2 left, session 4 and session 5 coming up. So make sure you go on the NPI website. You can get there through the old URL, but the new URL is npi-aep.org. And if you're not a member, sign up, access the model submittals, and join us for these educational sessions in the future. With that, thank you. Appreciate everybody in attendance.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.